Hopefully the live stream is now coming through live at you on a Thursday or a Thursday, as Harry renamed it. Today we've got the fabulous Ellen Evans of STEM Ginger Education joining us. She's going to be talking about
Hello.
demystifying CLIL with us. A couple of quick things before we start. If you're watching us later, leave us a little hashtag catch up so we can say hello. And also at the end of the webinar, we have some exciting hub news. You might have seen a message if you're following us on Twitter or on LinkedIn. But so stick around for that. That'll be coming through at the end. So fabulous. I'm so excited. CLIL is something, I'm sure it's the same for many people in the hub, that we know the name, but we have kind of possibly a vague idea, but we probably don't know that much about. So it's really great to have you with us today, Ellen.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
So before we start with CLIL, tell us a little bit about yourself and about STEM Ginger Education.
Okay, well, my name is Elen and I'm from Wales in Britain, obviously. Yeah, we all know that. And I was teaching English. I started in 1999. Can that be possible? No. Yeah, I think it is possible. Goodness me, last century, I started teaching English as a foreign language, and I traveled around Italy. I didn't go very far. Italy, Spain, Portugal, Egypt, and I was teaching English. And while I was in Cadiz, actually working at Active Language, that's when I thought, yeah, I want to do some more studies in science. And that's when I trained as a natural scientist, or started training as a natural scientist. And then I really wanted to bring together everything I'd learned about the natural world and the environment. I mean, we were all aware of the environmental catastrophe that is going on, but with my knowledge of and my learnings in natural science as well, I thought it would be fantastic to bring this together with English language teaching, which gave birth to CLIL. Well, didn't give birth to CLIL at all, gave birth to STEM Ginger Education, which then resulted in me specialising in CLIL.
Yeah. And so nowadays, is your teaching mainly just through STEM Ginger Education? Do you do any normal English?
No, complete mixture. Complete mixture. I have my fingers in many pies. I'm examining at the British Council. I'm teaching English to elementary students, teaching English to proficiency students, and then teaching about viruses to students in Italy, teaching about recycling. So they were really high level English, the children in the teenagers in Italy, they were adults in Italy. And then I was teaching about recycling the other day to A1, A2 students here in Barcelona. Well, Hospitalet de Llobregat, not Barcelona, I'm told. Sorry. And yeah, so a real mixture.
Cool. I mean, that's really good as well. Like, it is one of the great things about ELT that you can kind of, like, say, fingers in many pies if you're happy with that.
Yeah, exactly. And I am in lots of, I love the variety. It's exciting, it's motivating, everything, but it's also nerve-wracking. It cannot be denied. But you know, how much of that is the pandemic? I'm not really sure. You know, the pandemic and the changing situation. So no longer in the classroom Monday to Thursday. Now everything's online, and the course is 2 months, and then after 2 months start again.
And the courses that you're doing, they're kind of supplementary, because I always think of CLIL as being part of mainstream education, but obviously you're doing it as a new entity.
Yes, well, that's what I would really like it to be and become. And well, not become, it is in many countries, like in Northern Europe. I mean, it's already very much part of the curriculum. And I think very much in Italy, they're making it part of the curriculum. In Spain, it's a little bit more, it's not quite so solid, I don't think. But yeah, I think learning through English is it's just a great tool. That's what I'm going to be going on about. It's the fact that it's a tool. It's not the only way to learn, but yeah.
Okay, so I know that you've got some slides to share with us, and we're going to be doing some mentees and things like that. So whenever you're ready.
Okay, and as I'm learning more about public speaking, the first thing you should never do is apologize, but I'm still going to apologize because I don't want death by PowerPoint to be going on, but I have got quite a few slides. We'll skip through most of them, but I also want you to know that I've prepared so many because I want you to have something to take away as well. I'm talking to the teachers here, not just you, but you as well. But yeah, T said that you can share them, right?
Yeah, and that's it as well. Like, we're doing these 1-hour webinars, and CLIL is such a huge topic, and we're you're demystifying it for us and very much treating us all as beginners. So there is probably quite a lot of information that we need to kind of ground it.
Let's see how we get on. I might overload you, but anyway.
We'll survive. It's Thursday.
Exactly. So you can see that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the aims of this session are to have a clearer idea about what CLIL is, like T just said, and I want you to see its benefits, because I do think I think it's super beneficial. And as I've come into CLIL, I've just thought, well, this is just how I like teaching anyway, and I like teaching English in using lots of the methodology. So putting it under the term of CLIL is a means to an end. It doesn't matter. And then we're going to have a look at some ideas about how we can use it and not be so intimidated. Potentially, I will find out later about the fact that there's so much preparation involved initially, and how we can mitigate that. And finally, I want you all to agree, I hope, that global interconnectivity is totally possible and we can do it easily, and that CLIL goes with that hand in hand. So what is CLIL? Well, as some of you will know, if you will have seen on the hub, that I don't like the acronym. Sorry if you do, but to me it's not very catchy. And so after speaking to you all on the hub, I put on my webpage subject teaching through English, in brackets CLIL. But then I just found out that David Marsh, who is the founder of CLIL, thinks that they are not the same thing. And I understand, I think, I haven't actually heard his explanation of it, but I imagine it's because CLIL goes hand in hand with loads of fantastic methodology, like communication, interactive teaching, project-based learning. Loads of things are kind of a given with CLIL, and I guess that's what David Marsh is referring to. But personally, I think that ELT teachers are fantastic teachers anyway, and do all those methodological fantastic things anyway. So so whatever, David Marsh. Thank you for the input. Okay, and then a friend said to me the other day, why not English language integrated teaching? I was like, let's have a think, why not? Anyway, I would like to know, so Menti, I would like to know what words spring to your mind when you think of CLIL in the classroom. Here's a QR code that you can scan and just do it on your phones if you want to, or T will put the link into the chat box. Thank you, T. And let's find out what words spring to mind when you think of CLIL. And then I'll tell you some words that I think of. Or maybe I can tell you while you're thinking about it. No, I won't, because that'll influence you. Not doing that.
I wonder what words spring to mind for me. Because I think I've shared the link properly. Harry's just posted a hashtag whatever David Marsh.
Thanks.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll agree. So things that spring to mind for me are probably knowledge. Like I feel like to be a CLIL teacher, I need more knowledge of the subject that I'm teaching.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I'm not trained for.
Yeah.
So, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a mathematician, I'm not an artist. And so I don't know whether do I actually know. Oh, I might have given people the wrong link.
Yeah.
Hang out. Hang on.
Hang on, do you want me to share it again?
Yeah, let's try again. Sorry, apologies, everyone. We'll give it another go.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, because I did it yesterday, so maybe it's slightly different. It does look slightly different. Oh, well.
Okay, let's try. We'll try again.
Sorry, everybody.
Folks.
Okay, so what words spring to mind?
And open it and see as well.
Yeah, I'll open up the Menti so that we can see the results coming in. Is it working? Any joy?
I've got like, I can see the image, but it's not giving me the option to add my own answers, which is weird.
Is it not?
No.
Oh, great.
Well,
that's the first time I've done a word cloud on Menti, so maybe I've done something wrong.
Or as well, if anybody wants to put their ideas in the
chat, just put some words in the chat, and T can let me know what words spring to your mind.
What comes up. No, it seems we can't add to it, but yeah. So just let us know in the chat what words spring to mind. So one of my words was knowledge, and I think probably linked to that, I would say, I'm not sure if I like the word expertise, but yeah, like I say, this feeling that you need to know what you're talking about. Like, I kind of know what I'm talking about when I teach English.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. Yeah,
and science and stuff.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Because I mean, there's hard CLIL, soft CLIL, and what are you teaching? I think to teach not all CALP and BIGS. If you're teaching CALP, then you want to be an expert in the subject. I think that needs to be come first. But if you're teaching, if your primary goal is actually teaching English, I think that's fine. And I can't see the chat, can I? No. And yeah, I mean, even when for example, recently I did this course on viruses, and I'm trained in natural sciences, and I was doing a course on virology. I had to do my homework before every lesson, but it's super interesting. So I guess, yeah, I mean, I do love science. So if you're obliged to teach a subject that you really are not interested in, then that's a bit of a problem. But if you can try and do something that even maybe that you're not an expert in, but that you're interested in, then you can do your homework before teaching and just make sure you're one step ahead of the students. And yeah, that's what I would suggest. Have any words come in?
Well, other curriculum subjects taught through English, and while we teach, we learn, which I think is
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying too.
Well. Yeah.
It's the same with English now. I mean, I can imagine that many of us, when we started out after doing our 4-week CELTA, say, okay, present perfect continuous, and but we learned it and we did it, and now we're all experts. And no, okay, forever learning.
I mean, as well, just like the stuff you learn from a general English course book. There's some wacky stories out there.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah, I mean, generally, whenever I have a conversation, it's almost always, you won't guess what I read in the course book this week. That's where I get my information from.
Yeah, or somebody tells you a story and then you're like, yeah, that was English Val Intermediate, right? I know that one. So yeah, we're all teachers, we're all passionate about learning. So learning a bit of science or a bit of history or a bit about art, whatever it may be, I think that just enriches our skills and our interests. And
yeah, definitely. So another thing is coming, broader learning.
Yes, definitely, like incorporating lots of different skills now. That's from being in Spain for so long. I remember my friend used to say no at the end instead of a question tag, and it used to bug me. Now I'm doing it, aren't I? Yeah, so broader learning, definitely, and incorporating all the different skills, and not I don't know about you, but I got a bit bored of focusing on the present perfect versus the past simple, or focusing on whatever tense compared to whatever other tense, and learning through doing, which CLIL, David Marsh would say this very much so, that goes hand in hand with project-based learning. And I think that's a wonderful way of learning a language and learning the subject. And yeah, so I'm all up for that. Okay, yeah.
We have had a question come in, which I'm sure you're going to touch upon later. Are there any subjects that aren't suitable for CLIL?
I don't think so. I can't. I think it's all. I don't know. I'd be intrigued to know what whoever it is who wrote that question thinks. I think all subjects, I mean, you know, the big ones at the moment are PE and science. But even like I've got a friend who I work with who's Catalan, and he's a PE teacher. And before he goes in to teach in English, we just run through for example, little things like run back and forth, jump up and down, keep your head under the water, whatever it is that he has to say to his students. It's not natural everyday English. It's very subject specific. And he finds it really helpful to just meet up before. So I think with any subject, you just find the language that's specific to that subject. And I mean, cookery, instructions, science, history, past tenses. I don't know. I can't think of one.
Yeah.
So
I guess any subject that is taught in more than one language, like obviously history, you learn history in the UK and then history in Spain and history in South America. And so, you know, there can be.
Yeah.
So it was Claire who asked, and she says, I was intrigued that
Thanks,
the
Claire.
focus seems to be on science and wondered why. But like you say, maybe that's because, I don't know. We don't know why the main.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I've never heard anyone say why, but like with sports, so PE is very much one of the favorites. There's a lot of action to go behind it to reinforce the language. So maybe that's why. And then with science, a lot of scientific words are from Latin or from Greek, and therefore transferable between the languages quite easily. So even though you're learning quite complex stuff, it's the same in each language. So it won't totally overwhelm the students. So maybe that's why. Whereas, for example, with history, you'd need the past simple, past perfect, past continuous, past whatever else. And so there would need to be a lot more focus on the students would need the language there. But with regards to that, I imagine that most of us are English language teachers, and so that isn't an issue. It's more the content that's an issue. But then for those teachers that are that are content specialists rather than language specialists, I mean, giving examples to the students, giving STEM sentences, giving models to help the students along, I think is a great way of not directly focusing on the language, but getting the students using the language. And
I think you're probably right. And I remember as well, Simon saying at one point, when we were talking about CLIL a few years ago, why would you teach kind of Spanish history in English? Like that, it seems silly to, you know, for the students.
I would dispute that, Simon. I was just thinking about that now. I mean, look at a Spanish history book. Is it accurate? Look at an American history book. Is it accurate?
Harry's just said the same. Yeah. History in other countries can be tricky too, as history is seen in different ways from different countries, stroke points of view.
Exactly. And exactly, Harry. I agree 100%. And like, you know, different countries are, you know, they won't be allowed to say certain things. Whereas if you're learning it in English or learning it cross country with other students from other countries, then you're going to learn other things about your own country as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to name cases. I don't want to get political here, but we can all think of examples when people's education is constricted, shall we say. And I think that CLIL, that's the thing that I love about CLIL, is it knocks down these boundaries and opens up the borders, as it were.
Nice. Oh, I like that, opening up borders. That's a nice.
Yeah. So, and as we're stepping into, it's always been a global world, but with global communication being so easy nowadays, I think that CLIL goes hand in hand with that. And yeah, I'm just looking at the Menti that didn't work. And yeah, we need to take advantage of that, right?
Yeah.
I think. Okay, so a couple of things that I've thought of with regards to what CLIL means to me. No, not that one. Here we go. So some of my ideas. I think that it's interactive, communicative, space for the teacher to be resourceful and be creative. You've got the material, but you can adapt it, you can make it, you can vary it, so that using projects so that you can reach students of different levels, different abilities, different needs. And so as a result, it's inclusive and varied. I'm saying the same thing over and over again. But this is what I like about it. And it's, as a consequence, it's so motivational. I mean, it's really fresh in my mind, this course that I taught with these boys they were all boys, in Italy, and about viruses. And they were so motivated and so intrigued. They did all the homework. They arrived like 5-10 minutes before the lesson every day because they were so intrigued by it. And I just thought it was fantastic. And this is the joy of CLIL, is that I mean, obviously, if you've got a big class, you're going to have some people that are more interested than others. But because it's so varied and because it's project-based, the students can focus it on things that they are interested in, that lights their fire, as it were. So why learn subjects through other languages? I would say learn subjects through other languages because, as we were just talking about, it knocks down boundaries, borders. It gets us all communicating. It gets us all working together. And something that I do actually struggle with, which might seem a little bit ironic as an English language teacher, is the idea of English being a global language. I don't want English to be considered as more important than other languages. And I don't think it is more important than other languages. And I'm going to attempt a bit of Welsh. Dwi ddim yn eisiau i'r Gymraeg yn farw, which means I don't want Welsh to die. And yeah, there's so much that goes with the language, with culture, we don't want to let it all go. And I think that we can use CLIL as a tool to take advantage of that. That's my thinking.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Interestingly, Claire, and she said afterwards, I'm not being negative, it is just a genuine question. She was saying, do you think there are concerns, for example, students learning subjects in English and Spanish, that they lack vocabulary in their mother tongue because they're learning the subject in English?
That's a good point. I think that it depends on the learner, because if it's and the teacher, of course, but the teacher might not know the language or whatever, or know the subject. But if the learner is genuinely interested in the subject, they're going to go and find out how to say it in their own language. They're going to learn about it behind the scenes, as it were. And I think that's always true. You know, you have learners in every class, some that want to learn, some that don't, some that sit there and listen and learn and then go home and forget everything. And then, yeah, so I don't think it's a concern. I think it's great if I really think it's fantastic if we work cross-curricular and the English teacher works with the science teacher or whatever, and they do projects. I'm talking about projects, but doing them in the school, doing them across in different subjects, so that the teachers are working together and filling in those potential little holes.
Nice.
But I think the learners can do it as well. I think the learners are very much you could have one learner in the classes. Okay, your homework is to go away and find out what those words are in your language. You can have another learner that is making a vocabulary bank and keeping track of the new words that have come up. So I don't think it needs to be an issue. No. That's what I would say. Okay. Do we want language delights? Do we want a little bit of other languages? I'm not sure. I'm going to, yeah.
Let's go ahead.
Let's go for it. Yeah. It's only quick, just a little activity for you all. So if you didn't see the answers already.
I didn't know.
Okay. I want you to look at these languages. What is the language? Naga Naga Manai. What language is that? T?
Oh, I'm guessing it's not European.
You're quite right.
Say, I would be tempted to say a Southern Asian language, maybe Indonesian.
Good guess. It's not, but that's a good guess. I like it. Not that this really helps, I imagine, but Yimithir, which is actually an Australian Aboriginal language, and it means move a bit to the east. So this is, I put this one as an example because I think it highlights the joy of language and the fact that, you know, we talk about left, right, whereas in Google Yimithir, they talk about east, north, south, west. And so they've got a different way of referring to location and position in the world. So move a bit to the east, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, where's east? I'm not sure. And I have found that in Barcelona when people have said to me, oh, yeah, you know, the street east. I'm like, east? Sun. Okay. Can kind of figure it out. But some places, some countries, some cultures, it's just natural. It's great. Okay. And the next one I have, what language is this? Portuguese.
I would hazard a guess at Welsh because of the W's.
Yes.
Okay.
And yes, this means ironing board. And I think it's lovely because bwrdd means table in Welsh. And if you look at smooth and smoothier, you can see that actually it's the same. It's just, yeah, taking the English pronunciation and making it look Welsh using Welsh letters. And that's just an example of how language, we don't have bwrdd smoothio in Welsh. We didn't have ironing boards many years ago. So we've taken the English word and transformed it. The same in Spanish, right? With footing. I'm going footing. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
What's that then?
Yeah.
And then what were you going to say too?
No, it's just, yeah, that idea of where words come from, how they develop over time as well.
Yeah. And then we all know this, estrenar, Spanish, meaning where for the very first time. And that's just an example of how in Spanish you've got one word, in English we've got 6 words. And so I just want to emphasize the value of CLIL to learn about each other's languages and cultures. And that way we're all, I think it's wonderful. Such an opportunity. So I don't see CLIL as learn English. It's something I do actually struggle with quite a lot. And there was something in The Guardian, an article in The Guardian saying that as indigenous languages die out, will we lose knowledge about plants? And I think that's such a good point, because with language, we've got the oral tradition, we pass down our wives' tales and whatever. It's not always written down. It's very much the spoken word. And we don't want that to happen. So as I just said, use English, use CLIL to make sure that that doesn't happen, to get people's confidence up. Okay, so back on track with CLIL, as I went off on one about languages, because I'm fascinated in languages, as we all are, I think. Okay, here I'm sure you'll recognize all of these words, but I've written 3 in bold because they're part of the 4 C's. We've got, these are some of the CLIL tools that I think are, well, they are transferable skills and they're lifelong. So we've got critical thinking, communication, confidence, creativity, community, cognition, and culture. That's only 3 of the 4 C's, because the other 4, the 4th C is content, which is applicable to CLIL. It's not really a skill, is it? So here is some CLIL terminology, and these are things that I think that you need to think about when you're preparing a syllabus or when you're preparing a lesson, whatever. What are you bringing into the classroom? So, or what do you need to bring into the classroom? So these are things to bear in mind. For example, hard CLIL. Can you finish that, T? You're under such pressure there.
Right, I've got a cheap book somewhere. So I read hard CLIL is almost all the curriculum is taught in the target language.
It can be, but according to, I think it was this book, it was half. But yeah, I mean, half and up, I would say.
Actually, yeah, it wouldn't be almost all, because the whole idea of CLIL is that it's both languages. So yeah.
True. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Soft CLIL. Curriculum is taught content or topics from the curriculum.
Yes, topics, exactly. Yeah, so topics in the curriculum are taught as part of the language course. So soft CLIL, I imagine, is what lots of EFL teachers are doing. And then hard CLIL is, I was going to say what the subject teachers, like for example, Spanish or Catalan content teachers are doing, but maybe not, because I don't know, because their English is a little bit shady sometimes, not always. It depends, doesn't it? Anyway, BIGS.
BIGS. Skills needed. I do know what BIGS is, but this is just basically your everyday conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Social conversational situations. CALP.
So then this is the stuff which is more subject specific.
Yeah.
Right, for academic school study. Yes.
You're good at this. You're good at this.
Cheated
4 C's.
before I started.
The 4 C's. I mentioned 7 before.
Yeah.
What 4 C's are?
Content, cognition. Now this is a memory test. Communication, and is creativity one of the ones?
Creativity is one of mine.
One of yours. What was the other one then? Not critical thinking. That was number 1. It was one near the bottom, and I can't remember. Culture.
Yes, exactly. Well done. Very good. You do have a good memory, and yeah, you're a bright spark too. So yeah, these are, well, you know, lots and hots, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So these are your lower order and higher order thinking skills.
Exactly.
We're saying that although it's kind of talked about with CLIL, it's something that's relative in our general English anyway. Like, we want students to be doing more than just repeating a word. We want them to be using it, adapting it.
Exactly. And that's why I dispute David Marsh's comment that CLIL and subject teaching through English are different, because it depends on the teacher, right? And all of us ELT teachers are already doing most of this. So it's just a matter of then teaching a subject, but using lots of these lovely skills that we already have. So these are things to bear in mind when preparing a CLIL lesson. And lots and hots. So as T just said, lots is the lower order thinking skills, remembering, ordering, defining, checking, reviewing, and the higher order thinking skills, developing inquiry, creativity, hypothesizing. And I was thinking of examples before, and this HOTS is very much what I was doing on this virology course with these boys, because they were capable of it. Whereas the lots I was doing the other day when I was teaching about recycling to A1, A2 adults who are a bit overwhelmed by the whole English situation. So yeah, I think it's always really important to think about your learners, think about the place that you're working in, what are applicable, what are suitable, and what are possible within the constraints of the syllabus. Because obviously, well, it depends. We do often, as TEFL teachers, have quite a lot of freedom, which is quite nice, but a lot of teachers don't. So, okay, and here are some ways that you can help your learners. And I've got, death by PowerPoint. Sorry, but I want these to be available to you all afterwards so that you can have a look through and think, okay, this is what I can do in my classroom. So obvious things, you do all of these things anyway, but looking at structures and meaning, helping learners to notice the language, providing examples, modeling. You learned all this on the CELTA, correct? And in order to help learners, we need to be aware of the forms. So this is where CLIL is quite laborious, I guess, because you do need to look at the material quite clearly beforehand, but only the first time. So there's this intimidation of CLIL being quite laborious and hard work or whatever. But yeah, what do you think is what I'm wondering. So I want to know what puts you off CLIL. And so I have another Menti, which is probably going to be the wrong address again. So let's see if we can work this out. What puts you off CLIL? Is it the laboriousness of it or not? I would like to know.
I'll leave some messages. It might be easier to leave messages in the chat here on Facebook. I was just thinking with you saying then about you know, how we can support learners and things like helping them to learn language. Do you feel that for mainstream teachers who have started teaching CLIL, do you think that they have the skills that language teachers have? You know, that I'm kind of coming at it from a TEFL teacher's position.
Yeah.
I know nothing about the subject, but thinking of the flip side, that obviously these are people who are very knowledgeable about the subject, the content, but do they have the skills to
exactly
do which work?
Exactly. And that's what I was saying before about my friend Christian, who teaches PE. And you know, I can't remember how to say it in Spanish, but run back and forth, jump up and down. But he just translated it directly from the Spanish. And to him, that was fine. And the students understood. But he's also got some students in the class whose parents are English speakers, mother tongue speakers. And so he wanted to make sure that he was getting it correct. And it's like, yeah. And the only way I think of bridging that gap is by working together, teachers working, a PE teacher working with an English teacher or whatever, and setting up projects within a school and getting cross-curricular study going on. I think that's the ideal.
Huge pressure put on subject teachers who often have been suddenly told, we're teaching in the bilingual system starting in September, you know, and got all of summer to
totally learn. And not given any support. And I think, that's just wrong. I think, and I'm here for support. Anybody wants to recommend me to any schools or whatever, I think, and well, all of us, you know, we can help teachers with the language that they're missing, like doing an intercambio and helping them out with the structures and things that are very, very subject specific. And you can kind of understand what they're saying, but it's not how we say it in natural English.
We have had, so talking about what puts us off, Harry, nothing puts me off. I absolutely love it.
Well done, Harry. Very good.
I don't know. I mean, I think we were saying as well that it feels like a lot of the teachers who are in the TEFL Development Hub at the moment are ELT teachers, so perhaps people don't have a lot of experience CLIL to kind of know what might put them off. Any other comments come in?
Okay, but I guess it's about being subject specific, isn't it? Okay, and what I was wondering about is okay, that because it is so laborious that we should be sharing materials. I think this is what we need to be doing. And if we share material, because the first time you create something, there's a lot of work involved and you have to find out what structures are needed and whatever. I'm thinking of this more from the ELT teacher side, but it's the same for anybody. But the more that we share material, the more manageable it is. So I'm going to show you a way that we can share material. And I've set up a Google document where I've broken it down into different subjects, and we can put lesson plans in here, leave messages for each other. So we've got art, geography, history, languages, miscellaneous, PE, and science, technology, engineering, and maths. And let me show you an example, if I can.
I've just shared a link to it in the chat.
Thank you very much, T.
We'll need to request access.
Yeah, of course.
I can't give you right now because she's busy here, but yeah, she will get on it after the webinar. So have a quick look now in the webinar about what's there, and then we can get you access afterwards.
Yes, thank you. And so, yeah, this is what I just showed you. And for example, I put one in the art classroom and the art lessons. And this is very much an ELT teacher's perspective, because we're looking at past, regular past tense verbs. And I'm sure we've all done the lesson in, Paul Fabio, reward resource pack. Well, maybe you've done it, I don't know. But anyway, it's kind of an elementary, a lower level activity. And I've just set up an activity here with art. And there's a picture drawn by actually my first boyfriend, Richard Ireland, is now an artist, I've discovered. And this is some of his artwork, which I think is wonderful. And just making an activity out of that. And as I was saying before about how it can be so laborious preparing all of this work, but like, sentences, cut the sentences up, stick them up on the picture, etc. But if we've got it prepared already, then you can just go in, use it, and looking at the pronunciation, and then I think a really key thing in CLIL is then opening it up and personalizing the activity, getting the students to create their own story or whatever it may be, whatever the subject is. So yes, there we go.
And you've put in as well, there was kind of guidelines for teachers who want to share their materials in terms of
yeah, exactly. So
lesson plans and things.
Where is it? Yeah, so where is it? No, not that. That's my personal one. You don't want that. Where's it gone?
On the spot now.
Oh, there we go. There we go. No, sorry. Instructions for sharing material. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it depends what everybody think. I don't think you need to say level. And maybe as ELT teachers, it is useful to know about the level, but in a subject class, in a content class, then it's not necessary, because you're going to have people from all different levels. And I think the most useful thing is to go in and look at the material and decide whether it's suitable for the learners that you're going to have in front of you, and decide yourself.
I mean, I guess that's one question I would have, thinking, from, again, an ELT teacher's perspective, how do you pitch the level of language that you teach, that you use in the lesson?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I would say that again, this is where it comes into being really laborious at the beginning. I will emphasize at the beginning, and if we share stuff, then less so. But at the beginning, yeah, inevitably you do need to, if you've got a group of students in front of you, like at San Felipe in Cadiz, and you've got a group of students in front of you, you've got like 25 students or whatever, and they're all very, very different levels. I would say get them working together, helping each other, I'll get strong students and weaker students working together, getting students unfortunately having different activities for different levels, or maybe like preparing 3 activities. The lower levels only do 1, whereas the higher levels do all 3, or do all 3 and then help the weaker students. And yeah, so student help definitely, and being prepared across the board, and starting simple and getting more complex depending on your learners as well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Just before we carry on, there was a really nice message here from Claire again. She says, I still occasionally train Spanish riders of horses and love it, but only because the subject is second nature to me. I think I'd struggle with the confidence to teach a subject I didn't know. So yeah, going back to this idea of knowledge and expertise.
Yeah, definitely, Claire, definitely. And that's how I feel about science. I love teaching about science, but it's also something that I know about. Whereas if I had to go into the PE classroom, well, PE, I guess that's why PE is one of those subjects that is chosen, because it's not too intimidating. But yes, horse riding. If I had to teach about horse riding, I would have to study hard. And I think that's what we need to do. Try if you're going into the classroom, try and do it in a subject that you're genuinely interested in. Because if you're genuinely interested in it, then you're going to find out about it and find out about the subject specific vocabulary.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's no way around it, unfortunately, but easing it with sharing, as I keep saying. So there we go. Okay. Let me just have a look. Where am I going to now? Sorry.
That's all right. I've got some more links that I'll share in the chat at the end, because Ellen's written some blog posts about CLIL, so they're a good starting point as well for anyone who's interested. And then we'll also be, in a minute, she'll be talking about STEM ginger education, and I'll share the link to that as well. I might start.
Okay, just what can you see in front of you at the moment? Still the thing from before?
Still the Google.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, now we're back to slides.
Now we're back to PowerPoints. Okay. Oh no, sorry.
Oh
you
no,
don't want to go
back. That's okay.
You don't want to go back. There we go. When you're under pressure. So no,
Yeah,
it's also
always the way,
easy
isn't it?
beforehand. Right.
And just whilst we're
Sorry.
sorting yourself.
Yes, look at the blogs. They're all wonderful and super interesting.
About like experience and having things set up. Whilst I've been watching us on Facebook, I've realised that I'm like looking off the screen, because for some reason my image is flipped. So whilst I'm looking
Oh no. Yeah,
it just looks like I'm kind of staring off into the distance.
That's confusing, the whole mirror thing, isn't it?
Yeah. But
okay, I think I'm back. Right, just a last thing about CLIL. Well, last thing, we're going to come back to CLIL as well, but before I go off on one about STEM ginger education, facilitating CLIL by learning. So we all know about scaffolding. We need to incorporate scaffolding, and that way, yeah, like you were saying, Claire, about having very subject specific vocabulary. You're teaching a subject that you don't know about. I mean, yeah, you're going to have to learn as you're teaching it as well. So you're preparing the scaffolding, you're climbing up the scaffolding just before your students, I would say. But it can be easy. So, for example, what's the subject here? T, what's the subject?
I'm going to go for maths.
Exactly, it is maths. And if you're a maths expert and you're thinking, okay, what kind of language do I want to be using? Or if you're an ELT teacher teaching maths, you can think about the kind of vocabulary that you need. Is it content compatible? Is it content obligatory? Collocations, as ELT teachers, we're fantastic with that. High, medium frequency words. So content compatible is group.
General vocabulary, maybe number 2.
Yeah, exactly. Obligatory.
Yeah. Obligatory, probably then number 1.
Yeah, collocations.
Number 4.
And high, medium frequency words.
Group 3.
Exactly. So you're thinking about the kind of language that you're getting your students to learn. Are you doing lower order thinking skills or higher order thinking skills? What can your students cope with? And for example, ecological, we're doing marine biology now. So marine biology, perhaps you're no expert, but everybody, I would like you to match the words with the definitions. And I think all I want to know is if there is one that you're not sure about before looking at the definitions, which would it be? Number 3, proper yours.
I wouldn't even know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, exactly. And I imagine that's true for most. So again, picking words that you know that your learner's going to mainly know, and then just putting in 1 or 2 to teach them so that they're not overwhelmed. But it's all very subject specific, but it's not all completely new. So thinking about the language that you're bringing to the classroom.
And I guess as well, what you were saying before with science, especially, and math, that a lot of the words for European Romance language speakers, they look similar anyway.
Definitely. And with, like in the maths, I imagine circle, circumference, diameter are all pretty similar. But then when you get to words like in group 3, about, across, many, they're going to be quite different in different languages. So again, that's where teachers need to work together, cross-curricular, ideally. So here are some steps for a good CLIL lesson. You need to get them interested. You need to get them, well, for any lesson. I'm not even going to go through these because it's for any lesson, and you're all TEFL teachers. Do those things, great. Apply your ELT teaching tricks to the CLIL classroom and you're doing fine. And there's a little summary. So, I mean, just in addition to the ELT classroom, the 4 C's, this is a big thing about 4+ C's. I would say there are 8. Culture, communication all the way, whether it's written or spoken. And maybe in the written rather, that's when more correction will become involved, because communication, you just want people talking. I don't think we need to correct them every word that they say. And progresses in difficulty. I mean, that's true for you and true for the students as well. Relevant, motivating, involving, all of these are true for any classroom. Challenging but achievable. And this is super important. I was watching a clip earlier, a lady doing a talk, I can't remember her name, but doing a talk about CLIL. And she was saying about this little boy that was learning about cookery through CLIL. And he never spoke in English, he never spoke in the classroom, but it just turned out that he'd made a cake with his family the day before. So he was like, oh, I want to tell everybody. So the teacher helped him, like with stem sentences, or gave him a lot of the language that he needed. And then he stood up in front of the class and spoke in English about how he made his cake. And I just think that's beautiful. I think it's fantastic. And just getting people's confidence up. And talking about confidence, this is something I really notice in Britain. I don't know if you notice this, T, or anyone else, but that, like, for example, I'm thinking of my nephews, they're really intimidated to speak Spanish. They feel really shy. Whereas over here, children are more than happy to give it a go with English. I don't know if it's to do with being English, the English language. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
I wonder whether here in Spain nowadays parents are a lot more encouraging of their children to speak English because they themselves grew up with this fear of the ridiculous. You know, I know a lot of adults who are like, they don't feel comfortable, so perhaps they've pushed their children more to speak English so that they grow up with that same fear. Don't know.
I don't know, but it's a real shame, I think. I mean, I wonder how much it's that English is an easy language. I don't know. But that's easy to say.
Easy if you've learned it yourself.
That's the thing. I'm never quite sure. Okay, I'm just, I want to talk a little bit about CLIL and ELT and the environment. How is CLIL going to help the environment? That is the question. So I'm sure we all are very aware of this as we're teaching more and more about the environment. That opinions on climate change are so varied. And why? Because there's so much contradictory information out there. When I was doing this course on, on recycling the other day, I was really amazed, shocked, worried, concerned, whatever the right word is, when one of the ladies told me that so that her plastic doesn't enter the oceans, she burns it. And I was like, oh, right. Okay, so she really thought she was doing the right thing. This is somebody in, in Spain, in a rich Western country, and she's burning her plastic. I was like, yeah, but the fumes, and then the fumes get into the atmosphere, and then they enter the ocean in other ways, blah, blah, blah. But she didn't know. She thought she was doing the right thing. So, yeah, it really made an impression. I don't know if that's Spanglish, but it really did. And what are the consequences, as I was just saying, that people don't listen and they don't act because they're not sure what to do, or they do things like burning plastic, which is not a good thing to do. So yeah, if we're all communicating, if we're all using CLIL and learning about each other and sharing ideas, then hopefully these crazy ideas won't, well, inevitably they're going to happen. Social media exists, but I don't know, giving people more opportunities to correct information, I think, is what we need to do.
Access to education, to information.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I'm going off on a tangent now, if I can get it back up. Well, not a tangent at all, it's all very closely intertwined. Yeah. So how can we build a global community? Because this is what I'm talking about. We need to be communicating with each other. And I think, as Harry is very much doing, getting little people talking about the environment, not only the environment, I mean, with CLIL, it's all subjects, but environment is very much forefront at the moment. And I think it's great to get little people talking about the environment. And I don't know if anybody's heard of the Environmental Warriors, but this is what projects that I run with STEM Ginger Education. I get children in different countries doing projects, the same project, not working together. I mean, we've got time zones, logistics, it's not plausible. But if they're doing projects in parallel with one another, and then they can look at each other's results, which I think is really lovely. Let me just show you this on my website, if I can get it up.
And because you were saying you've had people joining from Mali,
Tanzania, Mali, Tanzania, Buenos Aires, Colombia. I didn't even know there was a jungle in Colombia. There's a jungle in Colombia, and just, yeah, and Spain and Italy, Portugal and Britain. And I think it's a fantastic idea to get children in different countries doing these projects, not together necessarily. If you can, fantastic. But I also think logistically that's quite challenging. So doing them in parallel. And then if you come to my webpage, stemgingereducation.com, it's being worked on at the moment. So things will change, but this is basically what it is. And the project archive, if you go to the Environmental Warriors, so Environmental Warriors of the Month, this is really motivating. You can see this, right, T? Yeah. Are you going to work? No.
It's thinking. Yeah, you can see
is
the thing going around
at
the top. Yeah.
Okay, I need to be patient. Okay, so the Environmental Warriors of the Month. So they submit their projects, and then I'm sure lots of you recognize this little one. Do you? Dan's little boy, Ollie Barber in Cardiff. So he did a wonderful project, and then also loads of children from Tanzania. They were, and just the difference in the projects, it was the same project, but like Ollie was talking about puddles and mapping out the water sources near his house, and these children were looking at the water sources from Kilimanjaro. And then some of the older girls wrote about the fact that I just looked at the time, sorry, I'm ranting on. I only just realized yeah, and just the difference. Anyway, I won't go on about it. Check it out on the webpage. So if you go to the webpage and go to the Environmental Warriors magazine, here there are entries from the students. So for example, what I was just talking about, Alibaba and the girls in Tanzania, that's February, and then there are past projects here as well. And yeah, so we can all learn about each other.
Oh, cool as well. Like you were talking about culture.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just the teacher saying this is, you know, for a teacher with a course book saying this is what it's like in Tanzania, this is what it's like in Cadiz.
Exactly.
You know,
Because
it's real
if
people
they're
sharing
talking
the
to each
project.
other, then and the forum is being set up on the webpage, and then they can communicate with each other and ask each other questions directly. And as soon as somebody becomes real person, it's not just a story in a course book, it takes on a different entity, a different meaning somehow. And that's the joy of CLIL.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes back to what Harry was saying about kind of the eco warrior, the role models. You know, people, when he was talking about the teenagers, they're much more likely to look
Yeah.
to somebody their own age, whether it's because of the Instagram likes or whatever. But, you know, it's not the teacher saying, you need to know this. It's actually really engaging and motivating for them.
Yeah, exactly. And seeing the similarities, the differences between countries. And then tying in what I was talking about before about learning about language and words in each other's. I mean, that's like a starting point, a way of contacting and talking to people.
And so, can anyone get involved in your project through STEM Ginger Education?
Yeah. Okay. I know I'm aware of time, but yeah. So STEM Ginger Education. The Environmental Warriors are free on the Environmental Warriors are free on the website, and these and as a result of them being free has meant that I've had children in Tanzania, in Mali, in poor areas of Buenos Aires, in the jungle in Colombia taking part, and it's just been wonderful. And if they weren't free, that they couldn't have taken part. But in addition, I'm doing global citizens courses, which are like the virology one that I was talking about, but also oceanography, environmental web and eco-sustainability. So if anybody thinks that schools that they work in might be interested, then get in touch. And or if anybody would like to teach them, then we can talk.
And are those three modules, are they aimed more at teens?
Teens and adults, I would, yeah, or you know, competent people that want to learn them. That was not the right word at all.
Not very young learners, not for your 3-year-olds.
No, but you can adapt things. You can. I mean, you might have a 7-year-old who's super bright and competent was not the right word, but super bright and eager. And
Yeah.
But then also adults. I've had adults asking me, you know, especially now with the viruses, nobody knows what a virus is. So learning about viruses and learning about it through English just gives so many strings to one's bow, I think.
Very nice.
So yes, that sums up CLIL. Lots of strings to the bow.
Excellent. Well, I mean, this has been really, really interesting because I thought I knew a little bit about CLIL, but now I know an awful lot more. And I'm going to go away. I'm going to share the links to your articles in the chat here, and then I'm going to go away and read them as well so I can find out even more. So huge thank you, Ellen, for coming.
Thank you. And just one more thing that I'd like to, because you said that you could share PowerPoints. I've kind of flown through and been a bit scatty, but if there are included in the PowerPoints, there are a couple of example lessons so people can get an idea of what they can put into their classrooms.
Fabulous. I'll definitely be sharing that as well and having a look through them. Cool. So just before we go, I did say at the beginning that we have some big news, big exciting news, which I worry now that I've built up too much. But just to let you know that the TEFL Development Hub now has a website. So I'll share the link to that. And we're going to be sharing the notes from all the sessions on the blog there. So I'll share a link afterwards. You'll be able to see that the most recent session notes are already there. And then next week, I'll be adding Elen's there as well. So yep, hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week on Tuesday. We've got the monthly management meetup. So we'll be posting a poll for that. And then on Thursday, we'll be back with our coffee breaks again. So thank you for everyone who's been watching this morning. As I said at the beginning, leave us a quick catch up, hashtag catch up if you're there now. And again, huge thank you to Elen. Elen's in the hub if anybody has any questions about CLIL or wants to get in touch via the website as well. So
thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.